The night was nearly gone, but sleep had not yet come. I stirred awake in my cozy cottage, a small wooden house nestled behind the dunes. Outside, the sky was still dark, and a waning moon hung low on the horizon. Something in my heart felt restless, a gentle calling that I could no longer ignore. Moonlight painted the sand silver, and wild dune grasses rustled gently in the breeze. The air smelled faintly of summer flowers and salt. Softly, so as not to wake anyone, I slipped out the door and walked barefoot into the cool night air. Behind me, the cottage was quiet and still. In front of me, the path stretched toward the shore. Every step brought the distant scent of salt and sand closer. I moved slowly, pulling a light shawl around my shoulders against the night breeze. Over the dunes I climbed until the sky began to lighten. Just ahead lay the vast, dark sea. I paused on the crest of a dune and took a deep breath. In that quiet moment, I felt the familiar comfort of home at last. The ocean had guided me here once more. Daylight was just beginning to break as I stepped onto the sand. Mist still clung to the shoreline when I finally reached the ocean's edge. The morning light was pale, and the world was waking up around me. Early morning mist drifted lazily over the shore as the first pale light of dawn unfurled across the sky. Soft ribbons of pink and gray streaked overhead, painting the horizon in quiet pastels. A gentle, cool breeze carried the faint brine of the sea and the earthy scent of damp sand. I stood barefoot on the cool beach, feeling the fine grains shift under my feet as I breathed in the crisp air. At this tranquil hour, the world felt hushed, as if holding its breath. Once, someone else stood beside me under skies like these, watching the dawn together. Her laughter used to mingle with the distant calls of gulls, and the morning air always seemed to light up in response. She could always find joy in the simplest things, like how the sunrise would breathe new color into the waves. Now, I am here alone, and the only company is the quiet rhythm of the waves. I drew in a slow, deep breath. The water curled gently around my ankles, cool and welcoming. Each wave that lapped at the shore felt like a quiet hello from the ocean. When I closed my eyes, I could almost feel her hand in mine, warm and real. I turned my face to the breeze. It brushed across my skin like a gentle, encouraging smile. I remained there, breathing slowly, letting the peaceful morning settle deep within me. It felt like I was finally home. I began to walk slowly along the shoreline, still in gentle silence. The tide was low now, and the water's retreat had left behind little pools in the sand. Each one was a tiny world. In one pool, a family of tiny crabs scuttled busily over the patterned sand. I watched them gather up crumbs of seaweed and scuttle away just before the next wave arrived. I almost leaned forward to scoop one up, but I paused, marveling at how small and delicate life could be. Elsewhere, a small school of fish flickered through another pool, their scales glinting silver and gold in the sunlight. They swam in tight circles, as if performing some quiet dance. I stood for a long moment observing them. The fish did not see me. I was just another part of the scenery. Yet I felt connected to their peaceful world. They knew nothing of heartbreak or longing. They just felt the water and the warmth of the sun. It struck me how the world was full of such small miracles, even when I felt alone. Behind the tide pools, the sand was cool and firm under my feet. I picked up a smooth, pastel-colored pebble and rolled it between my fingers. Its surface was worn, edges rounded from time and tide. Once, she and I would have collected seashells and stones like these, marveling at their simple beauty. She would have laughed when I insisted that one pale blue pebble was the best of them all. Her favorite was a broken shell piece, jagged at one end, that looked like a tiny white feather. I pretended to hold that imaginary feather between my fingers and closed my eyes. In the soft darkness behind my eyelids, I saw us sitting on a weathered driftwood log, warm sun on our shoulders, laughing at nothing and everything. She was a storyteller, always finding magic in the ordinary. I remember how her eyes sparkled when we first dipped our toes into these same waters together. The memory is gentle, a comfortable weight. When I opened my eyes again, I breathed out a soft smile. A memory floated into my mind unbidden. I saw us years ago, our younger selves on this same shore. It was a bright summer morning, and I remembered her finding the perfect seashell and handing it to me, eyes alight with joy. We sat together on the driftwood log with our toes in the water, talking about dreams and watching the tide come in. The sun warmed our faces as we laughed. I could almost feel that warmth still. That day feels so distant now. Yet, here we were again, still linked by the same sea and sky. Seagulls drifted overhead. One landed on a nearby log and preened its feathers, calmly at home on this shoreline. Perhaps it was listening. I wondered if it, too, had watched the years change like the tides. I reached down to scratch at the sand, the grains shifting quietly under my fingernail. I wrote our initials in the sand, an old habit I still kept. Then a soft wave rolled in, and together they vanished, almost as if we had never carved them there at all. I didn't mind. Even a wave couldn't erase a smile once it was made inside me. A little further on, I noticed footprints that weren't mine. Tiny dog prints and a child's footprints led toward a half-built sandcastle. Curious, I followed them and found a little girl and her father building with sand. The girl waved at me and asked me to join them. "We're making a princess castle," she said, eyes bright. I laughed quietly and replied, "I used to build castles too. They're always better when you share them." The girl beamed. The father offered me a small blue plastic shovel. "We could use some help filling the moat," he said warmly. I sat on a nearby log and helped dig a wider channel, and we all giggled when a small wave sneaked in and flooded a corner of the castle. "The ocean helped," I said with a smile, brushing sand from my hands. The girl clapped excitedly. I thanked them and smiled. "It's a beautiful castle," I told the father. "You're welcome," he replied. As they walked away, hand in hand, I felt gratitude for that small moment of company. For that brief instant, I was part of something simple and good. I continued my walk and the sand crunched beneath my feet. White shells, pink fragments, and pieces of amber sea glass. The morning light had strengthened now. The sun arced higher, warming the day, and my shoulders felt pleasantly hot. I pressed onward, the ocean breeze at my back carrying me forward. I watched them go and stood in silence, the echoes of their laughter still warm in my ears. With their quiet company, even for a minute, I felt less alone. By midday, the sun was high above, and the sky was a cloudless blue. I decided to head toward the old wooden pier that jutted into the bay. Its time-worn boards creaked softly as I stepped onto it. The structure was ancient and beloved, the kind of place where the edges of land forget themselves and breathe easy into the water. I paused halfway across to look over the side. Beneath me, the water was so clear I could spot bright orange fish darting between thick stalks of kelp. A few jellyfish drifted lazily, translucent and serene, swaying in the current. Barnacles and seaweed clung to the pier's legs, and salt had bleached the wood silvery. It had seen countless dawns and evenings. At the end of the pier, an old fisherman sat polishing a carved wooden bowl with a rag. His face was lined and tanned, eyes closed in contentment. He didn't seem surprised by my presence. He looked up at me with a nod and a smile as warm as the sun. "Good afternoon," he said quietly, his voice soft like the sea breeze. I sat down beside him on the wide plank. My feet dangled above the water's surface. I noticed the faint scent of fish being dried in the salty air. Each small swell brushed against my ankles. Above us, gulls cried and circled, and the ocean reflected the blue sky in a shimmering glass. "How's your day, friend?" he asked without turning, continuing to sand the bowls inside. "It's better now," I said softly. "I've been hoping for calm like this." "That's good," he replied. He finally set the bowl aside, revealing its smooth, finished grain. "Sit with me a bit," he offered. We shared the silence for a while. The sunlight danced on the waves and I felt its warmth on my back. "I came out here because the world seemed too loud," I confessed after a few breaths. "I needed the quiet." He smiled gently and said, "Sometimes the sea is a better listener than people. She will carry whatever you tell her in time. Sit a while longer." I watched a flock of seagulls glide overhead. A warm breeze ruffled my hair. We sat together in quiet companionship. After a moment, he finished sanding the bowl and placed it aside. He turned to me with a gentle smile. "The tide is carrying your dreams in and out too," he said quietly. "Each time it comes back, the water is different. The sun is in a new place. Maybe a new breeze blows. But the tide, it always returns." "I think I understand," I replied, feeling gratitude for his quiet wisdom. "Good," he nodded. "Be patient with yourself. The tide will keep its own pace, and so should you," he added. I nodded back at him. "Thank you," I said softly. He tipped his hat and turned back to the horizon. I finally stood up, feeling lighter and more at peace. The warm sun on my back felt forgiving. I descended the ramp carefully and placed my feet back on the sand. The feeling was familiar and comforting, grounding me firmly in the moment. I breathed in deeply, the salt air refreshing. I felt more at ease than I had in a long while. Back on the sand, I stretched out my legs and brushed off the damp grains. My body felt relaxed, and the old fisherman's words echoed gently in my mind. A newfound patience warmed me from the inside. I reached down and picked up my day pack, retrieving the journal and pen as I walked toward a sheltered cove framed by dunes. A line of weathered logs offered a place to sit. I chose the one still warm from the sun, and its heat sank into my back as I settled. Sand shifted beneath me as I watched the late afternoon light stretch across the beach. The sky was a pale blue, with wisps of gold and lavender on the horizon. Above, a few gulls drifted lazily overhead. I leaned back against the warm log and opened the journal. A gentle thought came to me. I write to find the calm I needed. So I began. My thoughts seemed to calm as soon as the pen touched the paper. I placed the pen on the blank page. My hand trembled slightly as I started to write. "Hello," I wrote, imagining her surprised smile. "I've been thinking of you today. The sea is calm and beautiful. I miss the way we used to greet each sunrise together." The words flowed from me as if the pen was guided by the tide itself. I described the late afternoon sky, streaks of peach and lavender fading on the horizon. I told her how the gulls flew in a slow spiral just now, almost like they were dancing for us. I mentioned the old fisherman on the pier and the wisdom he shared with me that day. He said the tides rise and fall as they please, I wrote. Maybe people are a bit like that too. I confessed that it still hurt to be here without her, but I was grateful for every morning we had shared. I thanked her softly for the memories we made, memories that would always be like shells I could hold in my heart. As I wrote, the sun dipped lower, and the sky's colors deepened. Sometimes a tear fell and smudged the ink. I didn't stop to wipe it away. I remembered how understanding she was, knowing without needing explanation. When the page was nearly full, I wrote the final words and signed my name. "Goodbye for now," I added softly, and I closed the journal gently. My heart felt lighter with each sentence. The weight I had carried was loosening as if the sea itself was helping me heal. I stood slowly, taking a moment to breathe deeply. Then, with deliberate calm, I folded the page and wrapped it around a smooth pebble I found by the shore. I carried this small bundle down to where the waves met the sand. Kneeling, I held the stone and paper at the water's edge. A gentle wave swept in and carried them away into the sea. Kneeling in the sand, I closed my eyes and breathed. The wave had carried the letter out to sea, and just like that, some part of me felt free. When I opened my eyes again, the sand was smooth and undisturbed. I breathed out slowly, feeling a gentle release inside me. The letter was gone, but I felt grateful for that quiet ceremony. I allowed myself a small, peaceful smile. I stayed kneeling for a few moments, watching the ripples smooth out. The burden inside me had lightened, and I finally stood, brushing sand from my knees. I sat back down on the log and just listened to the quiet. It felt like I had told my story, to the sea, if not to anyone else. The ocean listened without judging, and I finally felt at peace. As I sat there, a gentle rustling from the dunes caught my attention. A gentle dog emerged into the fading light. He was medium-sized with tawny fur and curious eyes. He approached slowly, tail wagging once, as if afraid to startle me. I reached out and scratched behind his ears. He leaned into the touch, clearly hungry for company. "Hello there," I whispered. "Are you out for an adventure too?" The dog let out a soft pant, then sat by my side. We sat together quietly, watching the sunset in unspoken companionship. In that moment, I was grateful for this gentle stranger who needed no words, just a quiet presence to share the beauty of this evening with. When I finally rose to leave, the dog stood up and followed me for a short distance. then turned back into the grass as silently as he appeared. I watched him go, thankful for his quiet companionship in the fading light. Alone again, I felt a tender calm settle around me like a warm cloak. Each step back to the log felt lighter. The sky was now a canvas of twilight. Soft purples and warm oranges blended overhead. I lingered for a moment, enjoying the last light. A few early stars twinkled in the sky above the sea. The first evening star was bright, hovering just over the distant horizon. As darkness gathered, the first fireflies winked to life among the dune grasses. They blinked and danced just like the stars, tiny points of light weaving through the air. They made me smile, these little beacons of warmth in the evening breeze. I pulled my shawl a bit tighter around my shoulders as the air cooled. I turned slowly and began the walk back along the shore, my footprints imprinted deeply in the wet sand behind me, each one a steady mark of the journey. But they would soon be erased by the next wave. I did not regret that. Each step felt unhurried and deliberate. I will return, I told the sea softly. With the dawn, I will return. I paused for a moment, feeling the cool evening air on my face. The sound of the waves was calm behind me, like a distant lullaby. I let myself breathe in that serenity before turning away from the water. Behind me, lanterns began to flicker at the edge of the beach, soft amber lights guiding late strollers and fishermen returning to port. I took one last look out at the water. It was dark now, almost the color of sapphire, with silver streaks where the moon's glow caught the ripples. The world was quiet, sleeping. I felt peace deep in my bones. A lone star caught my eye. It twinkled confidently above the dark water, reminding me of something she once said. Stars carry our quiet wishes. I smiled and whispered one of my own. Until tomorrow. My heart felt lighter, the ache now only a gentle whisper. Like the ocean, my story carries on. One soft wave at a time, I promised. With that, I turned and made my way home, carrying the soothing embrace of the sea with me. With each step away from the water, a new hope quietly took root inside me. The ache in my heart remained only as a faint echo, replaced now by a gentle certainty that I was not truly alone. The ocean would always be here beside me, and so would the memories we made. That night, as I finally crawled into bed at home, I knew that this shore would stay with me. In sleep, I would feel the rhythm of the waves once more, gently rocking me toward morning. And when dawn came again, this quiet shore would be here waiting.